G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. In this mandolin lesson, we're going to take a look at the Wayfaring Stranger. We're going to have a look at the verse and the chorus for this break, and it's a movable position as well. So basically, you can move it to any key you like, and I'll show you how to do that as part of this lesson. In a moment, we're going to take a look at the first half of the verse break here in this video. But if you head on over to pickinglessons.com, you'll find the remainder of this lesson where we take a look at the next part of the verse and we'll jump into the chorus as well. You'll also find the tablature that we're working from, and you'll find a play along and backing track. So once you get the break up, you can use those to help you work on the tune and get better at it. So pickinglessons.com. Okay, so let's jump on into the slow playthrough here for the first half of the verse break. We'll have a chat about some of the things we need to work on in a moment too, but let's start out with a slow playthrough nice and close. First 8 bars of the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Two, 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, 1. All right, so the first part of the verse there, we are in a closed position, so there are no open strings at all. We're playing out of E minor for this break, and the position of the scale that we're using is this position up here. There's an E on string 2, the A string, fret 7. And we have another E note here on string 4 on fret 9. And our scale, our pentatonic scale actually, is the main driver for the melody in this tune. And so that's the position we're going to be starting with for this version of the break. Now, it is movable, so we will have a look at how to do that a little bit later. But firstly, if you learn this scale, if you're not familiar with it, or at least just refresh this scale, that's going to really help. So let's have a look at this scale nice and slow before we jump into the tune. The E minor pentatonic scale, closed position, root note on fret 9 of string 4. 3, 4. Okay, so the first phrase starting off here in the pentatonic scale, you'll see how they really fit once you get to know that scale, into this double stop over part of an E minor chord, and we use the tremolo technique to kind of fill that space. And that's kind of the vibe of what we're going to be doing for this break. So a little bit of melody or thereabouts with the melody, and then some double stops with some tremolo through majority of what we're doing. So that first one again. Into the second phrase. So I'm swinging it slightly, but I'm also following the down up of the 8th notes where I can. So for example, in this second phrase, down, up, down, up, down, up. Following that rhythm there. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and into the double stop. For a lower portion of that E minor chord. So So watch the right hand there as well as you're working your way through. Now, moving on to the third phrase, chord change. We have a double stop here over the A minor. Similar idea though. The last portion of the melody is generally speaking in that double stop we're going to play, so keep an eye on those fingers as we practice at the beginning of that pentatonic scale. Now, just briefly with the tremolo too, if you're not familiar with the technique, basically we're covering the two strings quite quickly, down and up, down and up. You want a decent angle on your pick, so if you're flat, it's really hard to play, so you want an angle forward so the pick rolls over the strings, and you're going to tighten your grip just slightly as you do this, but very little pick goes through the strings. You really want to just brush over the strings. So do practice that tremolo. Try to get a smooth sound over both strings. Okay, so the last phrase here, just before we finish this portion of the lesson, back to that E minor. So far we've covered the E minor chord, a little bit of the A minor chord, back to the E minor chord in what we're looking at here for the melody. So these are the first 8 bars. Each section has 16 bars, so if you head to pickinglessons.com, we'll check out the next 8 bars to finish off this verse portion of the break. And then in the next lesson following that, we'll have a look at the chorus as well and break it all down. It's a lot of the same stuff built around this pentatonic scale. So if you're not familiar with it, do practice it from before when we learnt it. And then the double stops are really following our chords. So there's an E minor, there's an A minor, later on there's a B7 as well. In the chorus there's a couple of extra chords we need to look at there. And the tremolo that we're using as well. Do practice that to be nice and smooth, because we're playing over the double stops, over the 2 strings. You can start by practicing on 1 string if you're having trouble. But the 2 strings together with the double stop, the trick really is to get that angle of the pick, not being too flat to the strings, and really kind of lean it forward so the tip of the pick is really just moving over the strings quite smoothly. So they're the main techniques that we're going to need to use. So head on over to pickinglessons.com. You'll get yourself the tab, the next couple of lessons for this tune, and some play along tracks there as well, and all in the member section. So head to pickinglessons.com and I'll see you there.